The most prestigious Czech and Slovak virtual racing series is back. The best drivers from Czechia and Slovakia, competing in 12 races on iRacing. Who is going to win the championship trophy? That's Mercedes-Benz Virtual GP 2021. Hello and welcome back to the Mercedes-Benz Virtual GP 2021 season. We're here for round 4 in the land of the rising sun for a race at Twin Ring Motegi. My name is Justin Sutton, and joining me today, it is of course Chris Buxton.
It is always a pleasure to be back here with the VGP races. That is how the calendar has gone so far, and we have a wonderful track here in Japan to go through. Whilst the winners' podium still occupied those with the delicious of LP, there is still lots of fighting going on behind them. The Entropic pair still leading the top of the drivers' table, but look at how close the 2nd and 5th positions are contested, and 6th to 10th equally so. It is looking to be something absolutely spectacular, and even behind them, the 11th to 13th, very close indeed. Bit of a gap between Michael Lehman and Hunter Reiger for 13-14, but still plenty of points and plenty of honour out there to be won. As for teams, as mentioned, the Entropic pair really getting a bit of a lead at the moment, but still plenty of points for the season to come. ESET very well, Sirotech and Korani in 2nd, ERT 3rd. Bit of a gap between themselves and Electrax in 4th, but as I say, there's plenty of racing out there and many points still available to them. So then, this is how the big shock drivers have done so far with Thomas Horror and Aldrich Stepanovsky. So, yeah, that's how they did at Imola, and yeah, the race did. And it's very one-sided, you can argue, between Thomas Horror and Aldrich Stepanovsky, but still, that's the way these things go sometimes. The GT3 cars don't seem to be going Aldrich's way, but yeah, we do have very looming in the next couple of rounds of those mighty single-seaters, so we'll see how well they do. In comparison, the Electrax drivers, Stanislav Senol and Aleš Danda, not quite so one-sided, but 1 point between them. Whilst Senol may well have the slight edge on how well he's done over the season, just 1 point in it, and we are hitting round 4 now, so you couldn't ask for much more of a balanced team than what you're seeing in the Electrax drivers.
Today's conditions, 71 degrees Fahrenheit, 22 degrees centigrade is the air temperature. It is partly cloudy, not that windy either for this 4.8 kilometer circuit. Looking absolutely lovely, and it is Lucas Pachada on pole position for ERT Racing with Martin Nadlick alongside him for Benzina. I have to say, very surprised about that, and actually wow. In 3rd position, we've got Thomas Hora for Big Shock. That's an incredible performance. He's actually ahead of our current championship leaders. Then we got Eric Vizzi for Lenovo Legion right alongside Lucas Rashevsky, his teammate as well, and then Michael Matuszek, the Entropic guy, is really struggling 4th and 8th. Martin Sirotech actually out qualifying the Entropic car. That's really impressive. David Pachada, though, that's another big talking point. Way down in 11th position. That's a lot further down than I would have expected. Stanislav Senol as well, down in 14th position, is a lot further down than I would have expected. Thomas Korny in 15th. Vakulchek in 16th position. Jan Sikora, the veteran, way down in 20th position. He's not going to be happy about that. And Thomas Prohaska for TP Link bringing up the rear in 22nd. I am expecting him to make up positions in the race, though. He does tend to go better in the race than he does in qualifying. So no big surprises there. I expect him to make up positions, get into those points-paying positions as we prepare to go racing here from Twin Ring Motegi, one of my favorite circuits in all of Japan, in the whole world, actually, in fact. And we are green. The cars are away, and you can see a good start there, actually, for the ERT Pachata driver up at the front into turn 1. Oh, a bit of 3 wide. Thomas Hora, though, losing out on that third place position already. The Entropic car moving up into third, the Big Shot car down into 4th position at the start here. It looks like a good, clean start, though. Some jostling for position, some overtakes for sure. But, oh, as I say that, it looks like Kujela has had a problem at the back there, Chris.
Barely over 5 minutes gone, you've commentated curse someone already. That's got to be a record, Mr. Sutton. But yeah, look at the Lenovo Legion cars. They're having a great argument over 5th position. Eric Vizzi is the lead of the two at the moment. There is Thomas Prohaska, as you say, trying to make up ground early on. There is Rozovsky, the current second. Oh, big trouble further back. Oh dear, we've just seen 2 cars sideways. That's never the direction you want to be pointing in any racetrack, let alone one. This is quite a fast racetrack, very, very flowing, but it needs a very good rhythm. Oh dear, Kreitzer starting in 12th, now down there in 21st position. Not good for him, but Thomas Hora living up to the title of the team. That's a big shock for him. We don't normally see him that far towards the top end of the grid, but doing very well. There's Matuszek after less than stellar qualifying is maybe a little harsh, but we usually see him well in the top 5. He's lost a position already, down to 9th from his starting position. He's now been overtaken by Siritak as they come roaring down towards the camera. There's Podstata. We saw him overtake Thomas Hora for that 3rd position. He's not wanting to lose any time. And once again, Lucas Brachada maintaining the LP requirement for the top end of the field.
Lucas Pachata doing a fantastic job, has really not come under attack at all from Martin Nadlick. As we mentioned, though, kind of in the top 4, the big movement, though, was Podstata on Hora right at the start as well, too, right into turn 1. Made it look rather easy, fairly textbook, you would say. But Thomas Hora's not giving up just yet. He knows he qualified well. He's got good lap times, and he's got 52 minutes, more than 52 minutes of racing still to do here in Japan. Looking a little bit further back, that is the VR and Dexfin cars. That's Vakulchek, it looks like, making a move on Prohaska. Yeah, up the inside. That's into turn 2, which is just ever so slightly tighter compared to turn 1. As they make their way down towards turn 4. Another great overtaking location. There's no shortage of overtaking locations here at Twin Ring Motegi. Plenty of heavy braking zones and some high speeds as well, too. The big overtaking location, though, that we're going to see is going to be into turn 11. Certainly that's where I expect most of the action to be, because that's coming out of that very, very tight turn 10 hairpin. And you're going to be picking up a nice slipstream all the way down the longest straight down towards turn 11. So certainly I expect that's going to be pretty popular. Having a look at Kreitzer, though, we saw that he had a bit of a problem early in the race at the start. Oh, and yep, just made a little bit of contact with Corony. I think that was Thomas Corony. That was the car that he made contact with. And thankfully, though, no major damage for him there. It was a light touch. Then he spun around and he got going again. So he's on the back foot. He's got a more than 2-second gap between himself and the next car. But again, lots of racing still to do. Oh, and speaking of racing, we've got some side-by-side battling right into turn 11, that corner I was mentioning earlier. And Corony is up a position. So he may have gotten that little contact at the start, but he's already making up places.
Yeah, Thomas Corony didn't lose out a great deal of that impact. Oh my God, that's a great side-by-side. That's a little bit brave coming through. That's the final few turns, 12 to 14. Well, as you've just seen, it's doable, but you do have to very much trust the person you're racing alongside. Now, these GT3 cars, they don't mind a bit of door banging, so they can take a bit of impact along there. If you're doing that in a single-seater, then wow, you have got there's a lot of bravery in you. I've commentated on single-seaters here, and I've seen that move attempted. I can't say I've seen that move pulled off in a single-seater, but in these GT3s, that was very nicely done by Vakulchik to move him up into 17th position. Up front, no major breakaways as well, I'm noticing. Lucas Brachada keeping Martin Nadlick at bay. Just as I mentioned, these two, there they are, on board with the Benzina Rawler number 88, as he's... I won't say he's hounding Lucas Brachada at the moment, but he's certainly keeping him honest. He's making sure he's staying well within slipstream range. And it's really hard to break away up front because there's one really long straight. That's the one between turns 10 and 11. So you can get a decent slip, a decent run down that particular straight. But oh wow, that's the Entropic number 42. That is Motegi going back up into 8th position. That's his starting position. So he hasn't been able to make up an awful lot of lost time. Then there's a bit of a gap between himself and a mighty great pack. But that's Dander, I think, that's trying to have a bit of a move on the inside, trying to regain that spot. Doesn't really come off. There's David Machada. That's, again, kind of loitering. I wonder whether this track doesn't suit him or the setup of the car's not working for him, but we don't usually see a Prachada brother outside the top 10. That is very rare, but this is not a race that is going well for him. Right behind him is Stanislav Senol. We've mentioned him in the build-up to the race. Oh, and up front, my word, that was, I believe, that Siratak in the ESET car was trying to make a move. There he is at the top, very top of the shot. That big long line. That's first at 8th, and some cone death going on there. No white racing race is complete without some cone abuse going on. But look at that, the top 4, less than 4.5 seconds apart.
Yeah, I was going to say the biggest gap that I'm sort of seeing is actually behind Vizzy down to his teammate Rashovsky, but even that is only about 1 second. So really not massive gaps, as you mentioned, Chris, that we're seeing at the front of the field, and even indeed throughout. It's only 16 seconds down to 20th position. 20 cars within 16 seconds, so yeah, that would mean an average of less than 1 second gap between all of them. And then you've got the likes of Sikra and Kujelich a little bit further back. But yeah, things are going pretty well, actually. I don't know who we were just on board with. I think that was Prohaska, and I think he had a Hooters helmet on, which is a very American brand. That's not something that you would see very often outside of America, as far as I know anyway. Maybe it's extremely international. I'm not aware.
Well, I haven't seen any of here, I must say, over here in the UK, as we now see David Prachada and Lucas Dander side by side over the start-finish line. The ERT racing car, number 33, on the inside line, heading towards the long turn 1. Oh, Dander's going to go for it, and then he's got his fellow teammate right behind. Oh, no, it's a great run. Oh, is Prachada going to lose out? Because now the second of the electric cars is going to try and make the move. But he's been strung out to dry, really, on that last right-hander. Beg your pardon, that was actually the run between 10 and 11. So David Prachada, from trying to attack for 10th, is now under pressure for that 11th spot. That was well driven by the 3 of them. Now the top pack beginning to fan out a little bit. But again, no major breakaways. You know full well that Lucas Postata, having won the last 2 races, is not willing to let that streak go without a fight. Still remains within about a second behind Lucas Prachada, the only other person to have won a race this season. Yes, granted, there's only 4 races in. That's a lot of cone abuse going on there. That's a little bit much. Oh no! Just a bit of a touch with the VR Dexfin car, bounces off the wall, and wow, sends the 21st place, I think that was Kujela, the second Benzina car, into... Oh, that's a shame for Vagulchik. He was having a fairly decent run, but yeah, that introduction to the wall will not help his chances.
Yeah, that was a bit of a whoopsie. A car coming back on track, a car taking the racing line, and yeah, it's tough to say on that one. If there's any sort of penalties, though, certainly we will get notified about that kind of stuff. We'll update you guys and just let you know. But yeah, I think that was just maybe a 50-50 kind of thing on those guys. But looking at the front, once again, Martin Edlich in second position in that Benzina Orland. Looks to have lost a little bit of time to Lucas Prachada compared to the previous lap, whereas Postata in the Entropic car right behind him, looming heavy, large in those rear view mirrors as they get into that heavy braking zone for turn 11, where we saw that overtake previously, and we saw that action into these corners here, 12 through 14, the final corners on the track before we start another lap. More than 45 minutes of racing still to go. And Martin Edlich, as you said, hasn't really been pressuring Lucas Prachada for the lead. He's been keeping him honest, as you said, Chris, but yeah, he's really not been positioning himself, you know, for any sort of overtakes or anything like that. I don't know if he's lacking in pace or if he's just happy to sit behind for the meantime, pick up that slipstream, maybe do a little bit of fuel saving, a little bit of tire saving. Who knows what's going on in the mind of a racing driver. Oh, some 3 wide briefly moment there. That's Thomas Prohaska in the TP Link car. And then he's got the VR and Dexvin just ahead of him as well. Oh, are they going to be 3 wide again as they get down into the braking zone of turn 3? Oh, they very nearly are. Prohaska up the inside, though, but around the outside goes the VR Victoria. And it looks like that is how they're going to come out on that one. Kovarik comes out ahead of Prohaska, but Prohaska is coming out of the slipstream there, looking like he wanted to go heavy onto the brakes. Krejci as well, looking a little bit racy, having recovered from that early incident.
Wow, you could always rely on those in the midfield to give us an absolute great scrape. The top guys. Oh, that's a huge misbreaking misjudgment of the braking zone. Thomas Prohaska being the ping pong ball in between the VR Dexvin car and the Mecha All 4 Sim car of Kovarik and Krejci respectively. So he will have damage to the front and back of the car. That's going to be pretty detrimental. And that's going to allow Krejci to have a go at Kovarik for 17th position. Now on the inside line through the right-hander into the final turn. We've seen that a few times now in this race. So he's having a good old go, but not quite got the momentum to get it done. Or has he? He's going to be positioned for the inside lines. They now come back down the hill. Who's going to be the last of the late breakers? Nicely done from Krejci to take the position. Thomas Prohaska still hanging on in there. And now, for company, that's Kujela in the second Benzina car.
This is absolutely incredible. 4 cars in very, very close proximity. A poor exit out of the final corner, though, is going to be an open invitation for Thomas Prohaska. He's going to have to go around the outside, though, as Kovarik defends the inside line into turn 1. We've got we've also got the Benzina in the background there, trying to make a lunge as well, trying to get involved, but Prohaska can't quite do it, actually. The VR Victoria and Dexvin car of Kovarik maintains that position, but they're going to be side by side once again. And again, Prohaska is going to have to go around the outside the long way, but that's going to leave the door open for the Benzina car to shoot up the inside, take that position, and Prohaska gets relegated down to 20th position, unfortunately for him. And he's got Vakulchek just behind him as well, potentially looking to involve himself in this battle, because of course, if they keep going side by side, they're going to keep slowing each other down.
Great move there from Kovarik in the Victoria Dexvin car to move up into 18th position. A very opportunistic move. And also the Benzina car of Kujela. That was a lovely move there. No impact between any of them. Further towards the sharp end of the field, Eric Vizzi now is really getting himself positioned for a go at Thomas Horror. There he is, fully focused as always in the inset picture. Coming back to what you were surmising about whether Martin Nadlik is really trying to put the pressure on, I'm not convinced he is. I think he's just going to sit there for a while, let the laps roll. Easy for me to say, and it's very easy to kind of forget that you're doing that. It might sound a bit, that might seem strange to say. It's not like you forget what to do, but you have a plan in your head. Okay, if I'm in this position at this point, I'll just hover around in the slipstream, and sometimes in the heat of the moment that rule book has gone. But Martin Nadlik is doing a great job. He's had quite an inconsistent season, I think it's fair to say. Was second at Imola in our opening round of the season, and then was 21st and then 7th in Daytona and Zolder respectively. So it's been very up and down, but Martin Nadlik, as mentioned, has seen the podium and is looking to do so again. Podstarter, of course, has been first twice in the last couple of rounds and was 4th at Imola, so we know full well he's established himself as an absolute force to be reckoned with. I mean, Martin Nadlik almost has to try and prove his case because his initials aren't LP, so he'll have to kind of make a petition to why he should win the race on if he does actually get up to first. Now, of course, that isn't the case, but he's really hovering very, very close to Lucas now. Now, they were about half a second apart. That top 5 or so were a couple of laps ago about half a second apart each, and that's obviously come down. You can quite clearly see that isn't the case. But I reckon Martin Nadlik is just going to hang around there. He's just keeping himself very, very obvious, although Lucas Pachada is not taking any chances. He did move to that defensive line just then to keep Martin Nadlik behind him as they head down towards through turn 11. So Nadlik is keeping his presence known, but I reckon you know, in the final 15 minutes, 10 minutes maybe, if they're still like this, and there's every indication they will be, unless someone has a bit of an incident. Eric Vizzi may not have had that memo, though, judging by that move. I reckon that's going to, all bets are off, the gloves are coming off, and it's all going to be a great big scrap if they're still like that towards the final 10 minutes or so.
Poor exit out of the final corner, by the way, for Postata. Lost him a couple of tenths to the back of Nadlik, but it looks like he's working on clawing that back as we have a look at that battle for 10th position being reignited once again as David Pichata looks to get himself into the top 10, where he probably thinks he rightfully belongs. And again, we're quite surprised to see him outside the top 10 and so far off his brother. We usually see the two Pichata brothers very evenly matched is what we've seen historically. So a bit surprised by this one, but you know, there's just certain tracks that certain drivers don't go well at. I don't know if I necessarily go well. I have driven this track. I don't know if I'm fast around this track, but certainly I do enjoy driving it. I really think this is a bit of a hidden gem. I think Japan has some of the best circuits, though. I really like Okayama as well too. But Twin Ring Motegi, a really fun one. And yeah, really enjoying the racing that we're seeing so far. Lucas Pichata continues to lead the way. David Pichata, again, in 11th position, really trying to get himself into the top 10. All over the back of Danda now. We'll see if he can do anything into 10 and 11 here.
As we switch to Thomas Prohaska, that's keeping Kujela at bay in the second Benzina car. Oh, and again, there's no kind of staying in line and waiting for the laps to count down in this end of the field. These guys do tend to really scrap it out and get further through the field. Again, it does slow them down, but it does provide us a lot to shout about and some amazing racing. Vakulchik, he's caught the back of that of the pack now, having had his incident earlier on. Oh, jumping back up to the top three. Oh, Nadley gets very close to the back of Lucas Pichata, which must be a little bit unnerving for the ERT racing car, but we don't often find Nadley involved in you know, many kind of driver error incidents. He has had his incidents, of course he has. They all have. Oh, there's a few more cones go flying. They reappear pretty quickly. It's amazing marshals at Motegi to replace those cones. But look at that. You can see the gap in the tower, and it's highlighted red because they're very, very close. Martin Nadley once again just biding his time. You're not seeing him jump out from the slipstream. You're not seeing him try and dive on the inside, you know, late breaking move. Nope, he is quite happy to stay there. Unlike here, though, the TP Link car and Prohaska 3-1. Oh, no, that got awfully uncomfortable as we headed through the left-handers there. Vakulchik is quite happy about that. Oh, that's an unhappy car, though, from Thomas Prohaska. Getting his car back in the way, you can see there is damage there. Oh dear, both TP Link cars in the wooden spoon positions. Unfortunately, not a great race for them. Jan Sikra, from the qualifying results, was struggling somewhat here. The VGP veteran not having a good time here at Twin Ring Motegi.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate incident. I think Kreischer just missed his braking point or something like that, I would assume, and went quite deep in the middle of that battle, which unfortunately resulted in that contact and Prohaska going off. And like I said, you know, he started dead last, and he was making up positions. You know, he's involved in that battle for 18th position. Might have even been able to involve himself in the battle for 17th potentially, but unfortunately, that's going to lose him some time. He's lost about 4 seconds or so, it seems, to Vakulchik, the next car up the road. But we continue to focus on this battle for first position between Martin Nadlik and Lucas Pichata. Still very close to one another, but still no real side-by-side actions. We've seen Nadlik get pretty close to the back of that ERT racing team car on the run down towards turn 11. But we haven't actually seen any real sort of side-by-side action. Is Lucas going to feel the need to defend the inside line into turn 4 here? No, he is going to sort of stay to the middle of the track, but then move over to the racing line. It's a bit of a wider corner, turn 4, compared to the opening corners. You can carry a little bit more speed through it, and then you have this nice swooping section of 5 and 6. You got to get onto the brakes a little bit before the 50-meter board for the S section here of 7 and 8. This is one of those parts of the track where it's actually difficult to follow a car, where you're probably going to be losing a little bit of time, sort of in the 5 to 8 section. But then again, another heavy braking zone into turn 9, another hairpin. Not really an overtaking location though, because it's difficult to follow through 7 and 8. All that dirty air coming off that massive rear wing. Oh, and look at that. Martin Nadlik, I think, is closer than we have ever seen. It's about a car length as they get on the power on the run down towards turn 11. Is he going to be close enough on this occasion? No, I don't think so. Lucas Buxton doesn't feel the need to go defensive, so I think that means he's not really feeling the pressure. So he was pretty close, was Martin, coming out of turn 10, but I don't think he got the exit that he needed. So unfortunately, he was actually losing time on the run down towards turn 11 rather than gaining time. Podstata, on the other hand, was actually closing in quite a bit on Martin Nadlik there, and has really closed that down. Remember, he fell back. He was about 7/10 back on Martin Nadlik for a little while there after that poor exit out of the final corner a lap or two ago. But he has clawed that back, and you can see just behind as well. I think it's not going to be much longer now, Chris, before we see Eric Vizzi getting a little bit fed up with Thomas Hora. I think he's the faster car very marginally, and I think he's going to try and get by.
Those poor road cones, they're being battered around everywhere. Yeah, I wondered for a moment there whether Lucas Buxton had just gotten a bit fed up with being the third man of the. That's an odd angle for David Buxton in the pit lane there. I think he may have slightly misjudged his pit lane entry there, but he appears to be with his crew, so doing what he needs to do. Thomas Prohaska, one of the TP Link cars, in as well. Yeah, I wondered for a moment whether Podstata, I thought, I've had enough of this and I'm going to go for it, because he suddenly really closed in hot. I think he's gotten back into the rhythm, maybe thought, no, I'm going to open myself up to counter-attack for too long if I go for the move now. And you can see Thomas Hora and Eric Vizzi still having their dance towards the back. A couple of laps ago, I was looking at the lap times between Lucas Buxton and Martin Nadlik, and they were 0.003 of a second apart. So again, Nadlik was the quicker, inverted commas, of the two. I mean, bearing in mind that that's about 100 times quicker than you can blink. It's not exactly a measurement of speed that's going to be fairly significant at all. So yeah, Martin Nadlik is just doing what he needs to do, and Lucas Buxton, I think, knows it. We're not seeing constant defensive maneuvers of fresh air. There are a few defensive moves going on where Lucas thinks, I will you or will you not, because you never know. Yeah, somebody could just spring suddenly a move like that. nice on cue there from Kreitzer in the Mecha All-4 Sim car, the inside line, trying to get past Kovarik in the VR Victoria Dexfin car, into the right hander at turn 11. Nicely done. Even with damage on the front of the Mecha car. Oh, and then an outside manoeuvre. That was Moritz, I think, trying to make the move there. Didn't quite come off, but an outside manoeuvre there never really going to work too well for you, but keeps it on the track. No, beg your pardon, that wasn't Moritz. That could have been Kujala. Is it Kujala? Yes, in the Benzina Autocar. Yeah, beg your pardon. Yeah, outside on turn 12. Well, not unless you're absolutely alongside. Is that ever going to work? But like I say, we have actually seen it a couple of times. Wow, look at the timing of the top of the tower. Just 2/10 between the top two now, as we see this great scrap going on for the back end of the midfield pack. So this is 416th position, and they're still just as focused. Someone's got VR on. Love it. Very nice. As a fellow VR user, oh, that's very close for the Benzina car. I was like, Martin Kujala getting very, very close to the tail end of Kovarik. It's always a little nervous when you're that close, when the guy in front of you brakes us that split second of a second earlier than you're expecting, or you do it slightly later. It still makes you a little bit nervous, even though they've been running in this pack for a good 20 minutes now. Those little moments kind of wake you up and sort of refocus you somewhat, and that's what it looks like from on board. I think this is on board the number 8 car of Kovarik, as he is chasing the Mecha All-4 Sim car of Kreitzer. And again, even though it just looks like it's just going through the rhythm, it still takes a lot of focus, a lot of skill to maintain. I guarantee these lap times are not varying a great deal. A 10th here, a 10th there. So it does take a lot of skill to maintain this pace and this focus for this long.
It really does. Oh, and was that Eric Vizzi? That was Eric Vizzi getting past Thomas Hora. Well done into turn 2 as well. As I mentioned, no shortage of overtaking locations here at Twin Ring Motegi. One of the many reasons that I absolutely love this circuit. But you got a heavy braking zone heading, and then a heavy braking zone, and then another heavy braking zone here at turn 4. Rapid fire. Triple overtake locations. You love to see it. And Thomas Hora really needs to be careful here. A bit of a gap, even more of a gap, has begun to form between 3rd and 4th. It's now 3 seconds, in fact, between the leading trio and this next pack here. And if Thomas Hora isn't careful, he is going to lose another position to another Lenovo Legion car, because, of course, Rashofsky is right behind. And I do mean right behind. And look at that. Eric Vizzi already starting to pull a little bit of a gap, which is, of course, going to be beneficial for him, his team, and his teammate, because if he can pull a gap, then he won't be given the slipstream to Thomas Hora, and that will make Rashofsky's job a little bit easier, and he can try and get by as well. I don't think Thomas Hora would have any sort of damage or anything like that, so unfortunately I think he's just potentially struggling at this stage of the race as they get into that heavy braking zone at the bottom of the hill, down at turn 11, towards the end of the lap, through the final few corners they go, and look at that. Rashofsky is really positioned for an overtake here. He's climbing all over the back of Thomas Hora, and he's got Lehman all over the back of him as well too. We haven't even really mentioned Lehman all race long, but he's kind of been lurking in the background. And Sirotech as well. Oh, look at that, climbing onto the grass on the inside curb there, actually, for Thomas Hora. But Rashofsky can't quite find a way by, but that's going to lose him even more time to Vizzi up ahead. Here he goes. He's going to try it again into turn 2. No, he's just having a look. But look at that. This is really starting to tighten up. Eric Vizzi's starting to pull away, but this is still a quartet from Thomas Hora right down to Sirotech in the ESET car in 8th.
I really thought that was going to be Lucas Rashofsky off into the dust. I really thought he'd gone really too heavy into that braking, but look at that, nearly been shoved through the next right-hander. My goodness me, Michael Lehman is trying to give Lucas Rashofsky the hurry up here. Like, come on, I want to get on with this. Maybe Thomas Hora is struggling a bit. Now, I did notice a few laps ago they suddenly lost a bit of, quite a significant chunk of time to that top 3. So, not sure what happened there. We didn't see a mistake, so I wonder whether, maybe he's gone off, maybe he has picked up a little bit of damage. Maybe the cones have bitten back or something. Oh, is that a move on the inside? No, it's not. It's a big enough braking zone to do it down there at turn 10, but no, it's not going to come off this time. Oh, flash on the lights from the ESET car. That's Sirotech. And Sirotech not happy about something. Well, I didn't see anything that untoward from Michael Lehman, but either way, Sirotech not too happy with what's happened. Oh well, I mean, he could take that up with the organisation later on to see if anything is going. Oh, I was going to say that's a weird line, but he's gone for the pit lane.
Yeah, it's actually before the last few corners, actually. So it's sort of like a Silverstone pit entrance, where you can actually save a little bit of time by cutting some corners there. And yeah, so that's going to turn into just a two-way battle now. It's just between Hora and Rashofsky at this point, which could be bad news for Thomas Hora, potentially. Because, again, Rashofsky looked really quick there. I think what really held Rashofsky back was the fact that he was also having to defend from Michael Lehman. But now he can focus all of his attention on Thomas Hora in that big shot car in 5th place position. So now we are looking, obviously, at not that battle. We are looking at the leading trio. They've just gone under the banked circuit, the banked oval circuit. This is called Twin Ring Motegi because it's got 2 circuits. They're not connected, though. It's not a roval, as it's called. A lot of people know that. When you have like the Daytona Road Course, you would call that a roval, at least in America. We love shortening words like that. But here at Twin Ring Motegi, it's just 2 overlapping circuits. It's almost like Monza. It's sort of like how you go under the oval at Monza heading into Ascari, a similar sort of situation. So you're going under the banking, but it's used, or it's more recent than the banking is at Monza, certainly. I don't know how active it's being used recently in Japan, but certainly it's in a lot better condition than the banked corners at Monza, no doubt about that. Looking a little bit further back, Senel, again, somebody who is not having the best of weekends. We have a little bit higher standards for him this season, though. He's finished in 9th, 8th, and 8th so far, so inside the top 10 all the time. And actually, he had a poor qualifying, and you know, he's up into 10th by the way of some people pitting at the moment. So actually, I don't think this is a battle for 9th position, since yeah, Lehman has been into the pits, for example. Sirotech has been into the pits. By the way, Krejci is in between Lehman and Sirotech. So Lehman and Sirotech were battling coming into the pits. And actually, this has worked out extremely well for Michael Lehman. He's now got his teammate between himself and that ESET car. So that's worked out very, very well. Yeah, the other ESET car of Thomas Corney has got Senol all over the back of him, who, again, is not having the best of days, but he's looking to change that, it seems. Got a couple more cars in the pits. Moritz and Vakulchek.
Does indeed. It's even still, Thomas Corney is, I would say, like you said, this isn't really a battle for 9th. Well, it's not really a battle for anywhere. It's just these two are chewing the miles. I mean, once again, much like the top three, we're not seeing punch and counter punch. We're not seeing defensive moves. We're not seeing any attacking moves. They're just doing the miles at the moment. I still think in the final 10 minutes that all bets will be off and they are going to absolutely fight. Although Stanislav Senol had a bit of a look on the inside of the left-hander there coming through turn 7, so yeah, but he may be getting a little bit interested. We will see. And speaking of the top three, there they are once again, being led by the ERT Racing of Lucas Pachada, and still fairly equidistant. That's about 4/10 between them roughly, so just chewing up the miles, just doing what they need to do. So it's still going through. They haven't pitted yet. I think it was Krejci, our lead pitter, I think he's one of our lead pitters, if not the lead pitted car at the moment.
David Pachada as well pitted quite early.
He did, but he's down in 18th, so
yeah.
I think sort of Krejci is one of the lead cars that have been through the pit lane at the moment. We will see, of course, how that... oh, there's another one. That's Thomas Carney in from 9th position. He brings the ESET car right now, and there's some more cones doing a bit of a dance there. Again, the marshals doing a great job putting them back, but they keep...
They're vigilant, aren't they, these marshals?
Well, yeah. I mean, some of the quickest... you never see them. They're such a blur. They're some of the most efficient marshals in the world. Another one, that's Martin Krejci. That's come in the Mecha All-4 Sim team. So everybody will be through the pits at some point. How long they're in there for, of course, depending on the situation. And again, pod starter a little bit off the back of the top two. I think that's more because Nadelig has decided to push his right foot a little bit harder, more than pod starter's made a mistake. I would have thought maybe a bit of both, but at the moment, just doing what they need to do to keep their positions. We'll see how that one unfolds.
I do wonder if Podstada's gone a different way on setup, and potentially he's slower in the higher downforce parts of the lap, 5 through 8, that kind of section. Because yeah, we've seen this kind of ebb and flow, haven't we? Between the top two and Podstada. We've seen a little bit of ebb and flow as well between Pachada and Nadelig for the lead, but not to the same degree as we're even currently seeing on our screens between Nadelig and Podstada. It was about 9/10 or so for a moment there. Yeah, just about 9/10 as they make their way through the final few corners or so. Just under 22 minutes of racing still to go. And these three are still running very, very close. Less than a second and a half between all three of them. Lucas Pachada, Martin Nadelig, and Podstada as well. Everybody in very, very close proximity. Roshovsky still on the back of Thomas Hoare. I have to say, I'm a bit surprised by that one. Oh, Matuszek's into the pits. From 8th position, or what was 8th position when he came in. Oh, and there we go. On the left-hand side, you can see everybody that has been into the pit. So Michael Lehman is the leading car. Yeah, so he is the highest running of the cars that has been into the pits, and I believe he is going to overtake Matuszek, so he will move into provisional 10th place position. But yeah, rejoining this battle for the lead on board with Martin Nadelig. Here is that high downforce part of the track. You get to see they're flat out through the right-hander there, so no threats there. Again, you get a little bit onto the brakes here, down to just under 140 kph it looked like for Martin Nadelig as he carried his way through the S section there. and then onto this yet another heavy braking zone. Again, not really an overtaking location at turn 9, though. Oh, here we go. Tower and Sirotech, the newcomer Tower, going side by side with Sirotech there. Sirotech's going to come out ahead on that one. It looks like he is going to make that overtake. That was through the turns 2 and 3 complex. It looks like one corner down there after turn 1, but they do count it as 2 corners. So you got the first left-hander of 2, and then the much more open left-hander of turn 3. If you saw the hot lap that I did, you will know that it's just about flat out through turn 3, but it's kind of right on the edge. Are we going to see any of the leaders come into the pit? Not Lucas Pichata or Martin Leidlich. Is Podstata going to come through? He's dropped back even more, and it looks like he has indeed come into the pits. I was going to say he's either had a terrible mistake or he's opted to come into the pit lane. But yeah, it seems like he lost even more time on that particular lap. So I wonder if Podstata in 3rd position has actually chewed through those tires a little bit more compared to the leading pair of Pichata and Neidlich. We've also got Thomas Hora who's come into the pits, which is a great opportunity for the other Lenovo Legion of Roshovsky. He could potentially do an overcut here.
Yeah, absolutely. I reckon you were right earlier. I think the issue per se that Podstata's having, I think he's having a bigger difference in setup difference than tyre wear. I think you're right. I think he's gone for a setup that may not necessarily be helping him without the slipstream there, because he was absolutely fine whilst in that slipstream, and I think he may have made a mistake somewhere that just dropped him out of that. It's about 0.8 or so, the slipstream, effective slipstream range in these GT3s. So if you fall outside of that, you really, really notice. And he was a second outside of that before he came into the pits. Only just. But it would be enough that without a mistake from the top 2, it would have been near impossible for him to close that back in. So he's wisely brought that in, serve his mandatory pit stop, and then get back out there. He's come out in 8th position. He's about 3.5 seconds behind Stepanovsky in the second big shot car. So that looked like it was a pretty decent stop. Thomas Hora was behind him in the pit stop, and is some 6 seconds there or thereabouts further down the road. So I think Thomas Hora may well have had a longer stop. Are these two going to come in? Yep, and I thought they would. They came in tandem. So
interesting.
Who is going to win out on here? Is Martin Neidlich going to upset the top establishment? Did Vizzy come in? Yes, he did. Rosovsky. Both the Lenovo Legion cars have come in as well. What about the Electrax pair also running in tandem, 5th and 6th? There is Podstata. Now, it's going to be interesting to see if he can make the undercut work. He's got obviously no one already ahead of him to slipstream off of, so if he is running a more sensitive setup that needs that slipstream, he may not win out on this one, but we'll see. I mean, how many times has he played an absolute blinder as far as the strategy is concerned? But there is Lucas Pichata. Martin Neidlich is right with him. Oh, that has not worked out for Lucas Podstata. I think that's a setup difference. I think you got that one absolutely right. I reckon he's gone for a heavier downforce setup, which will really, really benefit from the slipstream. But because he doesn't have it, he's being hurt much, much more. He's lost, my word, he's lost about 2 seconds. Sorry, no, a further second from before the pit stop. There's Eric Vizzy. His pit stop's not... Well, his pit stop was probably fine, but the top 2 were absolutely on the money and still come out attached by an invisible bit of string.
And Roshovsky has come out ahead of Hora. So Mike and Hora is now kind of fallen into the clutches of Michael Lehman. So Lehman... right on cue. Look at that. You love to see it when that happens. Michael Lehman is all over the back of that big shot car. He looks keen to get by. He looks very keen. Possibly even a little bit of contact, getting so close. I think that was just the camera angle that we saw there that made it look like they were having a bit of contact. But Thomas Hora is under a lot of pressure from that Mecha All for Sim of Michael Lehman. He's going to look to make a move, I think, possibly into turn 10 here. Can he be late enough on the brakes? No. Thomas Hora is able to take the apex there. And of course, if they're not careful, they're going to have Motegi on the back of them here. So Michael Lehman needs to make this overtake, and then he needs to try and build a little bit of a gap if he can. And he needs to do this pretty quickly. He wants to try and avoid having too much of a battle here. Otherwise, that is going to invite Motegi and possibly even Siratek as well, because Siratek's only less than 2 seconds adrift of Motegi as well. So a little bit of battling. Oh, Stepanovsky and Tower going side by side as well, too. Tower, no, that's Kujela. I do apologize, in the Benzina. Coming out ahead in that one. That's for 17th position, comes out ahead of Tower. Tower is having a baptism by fire, getting lots and lots of excitement for him in this race, but doing a great job as well. You know, if you can go wheel to wheel with these guys, then you know you're in the right place. So great to see for the Ricart Sim driver. It's unfortunately not been a great race for Ricart Sim. .cz or VR and Dexfin or TP Link. A little bit of a difficult day for them as they're bringing up the lower places, but 15 minutes still to go. Something could still happen. We could have a huge incident up at the front. Again, it is quite tight up at the front and in the midfield as well too, so one small issue could end up collecting a number of drivers, so you never want to give up. You always want to keep pushing, see if you can pick up some positions. Jensen Button in Canada taught us all that lesson. You never, ever, ever want to give up, because you never know what's going to happen, even in a dry race. But again, Michael Lehman all over the back of that big shot car. And I think this might be another case here, Chris, of high downforce possibly with Michael Lehman, because you can see he's just absolutely hounding the big shot. But then as they get down towards turn 11, you can see where he could, you know, possibly make that overtake. He's just not alongside. Let's see, he's got another attempt here.
True enough. And oh, that's a big defensive move then from the big shot car. Thomas Horror, well, it was exaggerated and everything else. I was really, really early. He could have had a sudden kind of snap of oversteer there, but I was a little confused by that. I don't know why he went so far over to the right. Oh, you can see by the line, though, he's feeling the pressure. He knows Michael Lehman's there. Right ahead of them, this second Lenovo Legion car of Rozovsky. It's so... also... Thomas Horror will be picking up a bit of slipstream, or will he? Let's have a look at that. No, he's about 1.5 seconds behind the Lenovo Legion's car, so he's probably not picking up a lot, if any, slipstream from the back. But look at this, very defensive yet again, coming down towards turn 2. Big shot car still killing the cones, and Michael Lehman still trying to do something about it. You saw the car get really, really squiggly under the brakes. Right behind them is Motegi to pick up any pieces if it does all go wrong for the battle for 6. Again, Michael Lehman has a look on the inside line coming down towards turn 4, but doesn't quite get alongside. We've seen this time and again from these two. What a great scrap. They're less than 2/10 apart, lap after lap. It's brilliant stuff.
Really, really enjoying this one. But yeah, as you said, this is an invitation to Motegi. Hora's down 3 positions from where he started after an incredible qualifying. We were really bigging him up, but unfortunately has been going backwards in the race, and that 6th might turn into a 7th if he's not careful here. But again, Michael Lehman just doesn't seem to have the setup that he needs to actually make the overtake on Thomas Hora. I don't know if maybe it's not a case that Michael Lehman is running high downforce. Maybe it's a case that Thomas Hora is just running exceptionally low downforce, as they've got. Oh, okay. I thought that was. Wow, he is sticking to the back actually of Rozovsky pretty well. It's still less than 2 seconds between himself and Rozovsky, so he's got the one lap pace. It's just that Michael Lehman in this slipstream seems to be even faster. I have to say, I think if Michael Lehman was behind Rozovsky right now, we would be looking at a very similar situation where he's just all over the back of him, but can't quite make the overtake. The run down towards turn 1 is the 2nd longest of this straight, or possibly 3rd. I'm not sure if it's longer than the run down to 3rd to 4th or not, but he could have another potential overtake opportunity there. A little bit further up the road, Martin Nadlik still on the back of Lucas Pichata, and there is Podstata taking out those cones into turn 2. And then again going just about full throttle. Well, anyway, it was full throttle in qualifying, Trem. It may not be full throttle through turn 3 at this stage of the race with the worn out tires. And look at that! What a difference between the top 3 and then the next 3, or the 3 battling for 6th position. It's looking very, very tame. And then you cut to this battle for 6th. and just insanity.
Oh yeah, and now Motegi is involved in that battle. If there was any kind of preservation going on of either fuel or tyres or just letting the miles run down, that could well be completely shaken up now with the second entropic car of Motegi getting involved in that fight. There is David Pajada, still in 11th, nearly within the top 10, but it's not been his race today. We work our way through the field. Senol and now Thomas Corney in the E-Set car is working his way through the field. He's very much in no man's land there. There is the second big shot car of Oldrich Stepanovsky having his own race, and Kreitzer feeling very lonely out there in 15th position. I wonder what has happened to Thomas Horror. Something, yeah, I was just about to say something was going on with the tower, and he is out. So the third place qualifier is now out of the race. So we just switched to a stand-in for the recant team of Dominic Hauer, who's a streamer in the Czech Republic. He's standing in for Honza Reiger for this race. There's Vikulchik in the VR Victoria and Dextrin car. So we'll see hopefully we'll see a replay of what happened to Thomas Horror. There is the top two, still minding their own business. And again, look at the gap between these two and Podstasa. That is getting bigger, but the gap between these two and Eric Vizzi is about the same. That means Eric Vizzi is catching the back of the entropic car.
Yeah, I wonder if he sees a potential a potential podium on the cards for him. He might be keen to try and make that overtake. And we've already seen Eric Vizzi make an overtake. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say if we don't get a replay of whatever happened to Thomas Hora, just as I say that, here we go. So this is coming out of the S section, I believe, into turn 9. Yep, and there's been some contact, some more contact. And then, let's see, is the entropic car, is Matuszek actually going to get up the inside there? I wonder. Let's see, is Matuszek ahead of Michael Lehman? No. So Michael Lehman did manage to hold on to that one. That's a tough one. I would have to see, and this is why we're so glad that we're not stewards, because I would have to see replays and input, throttle inputs and all that kind of stuff, onboards, etc., to really judge that one. Certainly, Michael Lehman was alongside and deserved room, but I don't know if it's a case of Thomas Hora not giving him room, or if Michael Lehman went quite deep. And ended up kind of taking him out. It's a difficult one to tell on that one. Oh, some more contact. We're getting some lots of crashing and banging now in the closing stages of this race. We did say that we expected the battling between Hora and Lehman. Oh, look at that. Was that some more contact, I think, between Sirotech and Matuszek? But yeah, we thought that battling was going to bring Matuszek and Sirotech into this, but we sort of expected that it was going to turn into a four-way battle. We didn't expect Hora to get taken out there. Sirotech does just about. Look at that. Matuszek gives him the room, which you love to see. I'm not sure. I think that may have been overly generous on Sirotech's part, and Matuszek as well, actually. But side by side into turn 2, inside line for the entropic car of Matuszek, and he is going to take that position. But a gap now starting to form. Michael Lehman starting to break away as a result of this battling.
Yeah, Matuszek has constantly been battling against two cars around him, and with Thomas Hora's departure, that spot was taken by Sirotech in the E-Set car. Wow, is the number 29 determined to really put the pressure on here? He does not want to lose time against Michael Lehman, which unfortunately is exactly what they're doing. But look at this, he is not letting the entropic number 42 go at all. Brilliant to see. Yeah, a little bit of banging and shoving going on. Yeah, that incident with Thomas Hora, I suspect that was a retirement out of frustration, because we've seen it didn't look like a big impact, but it was an impact right in the face. So it probably caused a lot more damage than it would initially seem to have done from an observer's perspective. But I'm sure we've seen cars. Well, we've seen cars with all kinds of dents and bits missing and what have you continue. So I suspect that was a bit of a retirement out of frustration for Thomas Hora, because it started well. He was going backwards a little bit, but then just caught up in an incident that he clearly felt quite aggrieved with. So we'll let the stewards figure out what they're going to do as a result of that. That penalty will be applied in the next race. as we continue to watch this great fight between Motegi and Sirotek now, as Michael Lehman has used his opportunity to just check out right in front of them. So now it's just a two-way fight. 6 and a bit minutes to go. Lucas Machado, though, has broken free of Martin Nadley up front. He's catching back markers. That, I believe, is Jan Sikora ahead of us. It is indeed. As I thought we were seeing some more pitters there, but no, that's just because they're very close to the pit lane entrance that causes the P marker to come up when it shouldn't do. So Lucas Machado continuing the LP requirement on the top step of the podium. And this will be his, if he's able to continue, it will be his second win. Now, he won't take the championship lead just yet, because he's had a first, a 6th, and a 15th, whereas Podstada's had a 4th and a 1st and a 1st. So far more consistent, and is looking to, at the moment, try and maintain a podium spot, although Eric Vizzi, I'm sure, is determined to do something better. But Lucas Machado, having shaken Martin Nadley free, and again, Martin wasn't putting all that much pressure on him, but now he's absolutely dropped him. Has just found another gear. He's taken that car, you know, he's turning that up to 11, all right?
Yeah, 2 seconds now is the gap between Machado and Nadlick. Really, really impressive. Only 5 minutes remaining in this race. Michael Lehman, I was looking to see his pace compared to Rashofsky, but very, very similar. It's holding firm right around 7 seconds. There's a bit of ebb and flow back and forth, tit for tat between the two of them. But yeah, certainly not enough time with that kind of difference. But the charge that Michael Lehman is on had me wondering if maybe there he could actually you know, pick up another position in this race. But no, with how much time is left and with how evenly matched he is with Rashofsky, I would say that's probably going to be his finishing position here today. But 6th from 9th on the grid, if I remember correctly, for Michael Lehman is not bad going at all. We'll see if he ends up getting a penalty, if the stewards end up deciding that he did indeed make that move unfairly on Thomas Hora. But yeah, look at that. The top 4 quite spread out. In fact, the top 5 quite spread out. Very, very different from what we saw early on in the race. A bit of a surprising one. It really seems that the pit stop phase has had an enormous impact on the racing here. And you touched on earlier, Chris, the importance of that slipstream, and clearly you were 100% right, because a lot of cars losing a lot of pace once they fall outside of that slipstream range.
Indeed, and I'm also looking at the gap between Podstata and Vizzi. It's continuing to fall. It's 1.1 seconds now. It's whether it's going to fall enough, or just the next step is now 1.3, but it has been getting lower and lower. I don't think at that rate that Eric Vizzi's going to quite catch Podstata. We will see, though, in the remaining 3.5 minutes of this race. So we continue to watch Lucas Machado. I've had it, I'm saying Podstata now. Lucas Machado just putting on an absolute masterclass. This is very much what he did in Imola. Okay, he didn't run away with it per se, but he qualified at the front and just kept it. He did nothing wrong all race long, and he's doing it again here at Twin Ring Motegi. Now, if it is a commentator's curse, I take full responsibility for it if we find Lucas Machado off into the dust in the next 2 minutes.
He really is doing incredible, though. I'm going to pile on the commentator's curse, because, yeah, really doing an amazing job. By the way, just under 3 minutes remaining as he crossed the line, so that means there is going to be 2 more laps for all of these cars that are coming across now, except for Sikora and Prohaska, since, of course, they are a lap down. Well, it is still 2 more laps for them, but you know what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. But for everybody else, they will be completing the lead lap, I do believe. Yeah, it's about 1:50, and Kovarik is only 1:20 behind the leader, which I think really, really highlights, actually, the quality of driving that we've had this season. We've touched on before how this is possibly the best season we've ever had in terms of the closeness of the field. And I think, actually, that really highlights it, the 1:20 down to 19th, an hour of racing, and we're talking about 80 seconds, so a second a lap, a little bit more than a second a lap, but that's, of course, you know, taking into account battling and all sorts of other things. It's not exactly like Kovarik has had a lonely, boring race, whereas Lucas Machado has been unchallenged. I mean, there was a brief moment there where Nadlik was really, really on the back of him, but again, no side-by-side, nothing to really slow him down here. Let's have a replay here of Sirotek. This is on the back of Matushek. for that top 10 position, the Super 7 position. You can see a bit of a poor run out of that turn 10 hairpin for Motegi allows Sirotek to pull alongside on the run down towards turn 11. He's even got track position as they get into the braking zone and the inside line, and he's laid enough onto the brakes in order to take that position from Motegi. A lovely move, actually, from Sirotek, who, again, is having an absolutely fantastic season. Really impressive stuff from Sirotek. He has yet to finish outside the top 10, and he's even got a podium. Things are going great for him in 2021.
That they are, as we switch back to our top pair. As in, once upon a time, we had the top 8 in the same shot, but final lap now, as confirmed in the top left of the tower. Lucas Buxton just doing what he needs to do. He doesn't need to push quite to the 10-10s that he has been, but it's Lucas Buxton. Of course he's going to right the way into the flag fours. Again, looking at the gap between Podstarter and Vizzy, there's actually about 8-10s, but it's the flag is going to fall unless Podstarter's got a problem. Eric Vizzy's going to be denied a podium, but still a decent run considering how mixed the season he's had so far. He'll probably take the 4th spot, yeah. But Lucas Buxton has been absolutely flawless in this race, and yeah, he's controlled everything he needs to, even giving it a bit of a 4-wheel drift out of the left-hander there. Very nicely done. I mean, what can you say? Lucas Buxton has just done everything right. It's very much all or nothing for Lucas Buxton. He did the same thing, like I said earlier, he did the same in Imola. He just had all the cards fall in his favour, and then disaster fell at Daytona. So we'll see if Lucas Buxton can maybe find a little bit more consistency. But wow, he's swatted his thing. He certainly has an abundance of pace.
Yeah, a really flawless drive from Lucas Buxton. He has had a bit of a Ricky Bobby season, you could say. If you're not first, you're last. Maybe not last, but it is going to be another first for Lucas Buxton. A twin-ring Motegi in an absolutely fantastic race with a very deserved second place for Martin Nadlik, who was equally untouchable. It really should be pointed out. Podstarter as well taking that 3rd place position with force at the start of the race, earning himself yet another podium. That's going to allow him to maintain that championship lead. Really, really impressive stuff throughout the field. Sirotek is going to finish ahead of Motegi. It's another top 10 finish for the ESET driver. Alice Danda is going to finish in 9th. A difficult race for David Pichata, but the fact that 10th position is a difficult race for him really shows the standards that we have. Only 11th position for Senol. Again, that's actually his first time outside the top 10 so far this season, so I imagine he'll be a little bit frustrated with that one. He didn't have the best of qualifying, though, so maybe just a circuit he doesn't go well at. Stepanovsky going to pick up a 13th place position. Moritz is going to finish inside the top 15 for Ricard Sim. A solid drive. A bit of a lonely finish for him, you have to say, with Tower right behind him, though, putting in a great performance, you have to say, Chris. Oh, is that somebody off at the exit there? Right at the end.
Yeah, looks like someone's hit the wall. Now, not quite sure. I'm not seeing.
Was that a TP link? I think it may have been a TP link.
But on the podium, once again, the LP rule being maintained by Lucas Buxton, Martin Nadlig, a fine 2nd place, and Lucas Podstarter for Entropic rounding out the podium. Eric Vizzy 4, Lucas Rosowski 5, Michael Lehman in 6th, Martin Sirotek in 7th, Michael Motegi in 8th, Alice Danda 9th, and David Pichata rounding out the top 10. The fastest up going, unsurprisingly, to Lucas Pichata with a storming 150.078 as the race went on. Stanislav Senol, you can see at the bottom of the tower there, in 11th. Thomas Corney 12th. Aldrich Stepanovsky in 13th. Martin Krejci 14th. Lubin Miromovic 15th. Dominic Tower, the stand-in for Ricard, in 16th. Josef Vakulchik 17th. Peter Kajela 18th. Peter Kavari 19th. Jan Seeger 20th. Thomas Prohaska 21. We lost out on Thomas Horror towards the end.
So unfortunate after a really, really strong qualifying. I hope he bounces back. He really deserves it. Lucas Buxton continues to lead the way, but that gap has come down. It's only 19 points down to Lucas Buxton now. Another 13 points down to Martin Nadlik after he gets yet another podium. Again, very, very tight in the midfield. Stanislav Senol, 1 point ahead of Thomas Cornea, only 2 points down to Thomas Hora in 13th position after he had that difficult race today. But very, very close. A lot of drivers just outside double-digit points as well, and only a few drivers yet to score points so far this season, but they'll have plenty of opportunities. Of course, we're going to have the Indy cars very soon. Entropic continues to lead the way, 129 points, 34 points ahead of the Pachada brothers in the ERT racing team. ESET continues to do quite well after another strong finish for Sierratech. 21 points is the gap down to them in third position. Another 17 points down to Electra X in fourth with Senal and Danda. Not the best of days for those two, but certainly I imagine they'll be bouncing back as well. I want to say a big thanks to Chris for joining me. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. That's going to do it for round 4. Make sure to tune in next time for round 5 at Donington.